They thought I was just the accountant, the quiet one who signed the papers, filed the numbers, and looked the other way. But numbers don't lie. People do. And when I found the hidden ledger, the one that held the truth behind every death, every payoff, every buried body, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't keeping their secrets anymore. I was keeping my own. Subscribe now to my channel, Mafia Hidden Diary, for more dark, emotional stories like this. Numbers don't lie, Arthur used to tell me. People do. That's why I trust ledgers more than faces. He was the only man in the Beaumont Empire who didn't look at me like I was a tool. To everyone else, I was the quiet accountant, the one who handled their money, cleaned their sins, and never asked questions. But tonight, Arthur's office was empty. His coat still hung on the rack. His glasses were still on the desk. His coffee mug was still half full. Only Arthur himself was missing. I leaned against the doorway, whispering, "Where the hell did you go, old man?" "Talking to ghosts again, Ethan?" Veronica Beaumont's voice cut through the silence like silk over steel. I turned, careful not to show surprise. "Just thinking out loud." She smiled, that perfect, dangerous smile. "You think too much. My father says accountants shouldn't do that." "I just balance the books," I replied. "You do more than that," she said, stepping closer, the faint scent of her perfume mixed with paper and dust. "Arthur trusted you. Maybe too much." I looked her dead in the eye. "And you don't?" Her expression flickered, just for a second. "Trust is expensive, Ethan. Around here it costs lives." She turned to leave, her heels echoing on the marble. Before she reached the door, I said, "Do you know where he went?" She didn't look back. Men like Arthur don't go anywhere. They're sent. The door shut behind her. I exhaled slowly, walked to the desk, and opened the ledger Arthur had been working on before he disappeared. It was immaculate. Too immaculate. Every page balanced perfectly. Every cent accounted for, which, in the Beaumont world, was the first red flag. I started running the transactions backward, tracing deposits, cross-referencing shell accounts. Then I found it. A single recurring code in the margin, K17. It wasn't a number. It was a message. "Arthur," I muttered, scanning the pages. "What were you hiding?" The office door creaked again. This time it was Richard Beaumont himself, the patriarch. "Vale," he said, in that gravelly tone that came from cigars and power. "You're still here?" "Yes, sir. Just reconciling Arthur's last quarter." He walked in, adjusting his cufflinks. Arthur was a good man, loyal, but loyalty fades. "You understand that, don't you?" I kept my voice steady. "Of course." "Good," he said, "because I need loyal men now more than ever." "I hear whispers, Ethan, about missing shipments, unrecorded expenses." He stepped closer, his cologne sharp enough to sting. "If I find out someone's been playing games with my money, I won't ask questions. I'll just cut the hand that wrote the numbers." I nodded. "Understood." He studied me for a moment, then smiled. Thin, false. "You're quiet. That's what I like about you. Quiet men live longer." When he left, I finally breathed again. That night, long after everyone was gone, I locked the office door and pulled Arthur's drawer open. Inside was a key with a faded tag, Locker 317. I grabbed my coat, left through the service exit, and drove to the Beaumont warehouse by the docks. The wind howled through the steel corridors and the air smelled like salt and oil. I found the locker, turned the key, and opened it. Inside, ledgers, receipts, and a sealed envelope with my name written in Arthur's handwriting. My throat went dry. I tore it open. Inside was a single note. "They're watching you now. Don't trust anyone, not even her." Below it, a small map, leading back to Arthur's private office. I drove back fast, headlights cutting through the dark. My pulse matched the engine's rhythm. Inside the office, I knelt by the floorboards near his desk. I'd cleaned this place 100 times, but I'd never noticed the tiny groove beneath the rug, a hidden panel. I pried it open and found a small safe. No combination, just a fingerprint scanner. Arthur's fingerprint wouldn't work, not anymore. But he'd left a failsafe. Under his old photo frame, taped behind the picture, was a clear plastic strip, a thumbprint overlay. Classic Arthur. I pressed it to the scanner. The lock clicked open. Inside the safe, one object. A USB drive, plain, black, labeled in Arthur's neat handwriting. for when they come for you. My stomach turned cold. I sat there, staring at it under the flickering light. The room felt heavier, as if someone else was still here. I whispered, "Arthur." "What the hell did you drag me into?" The office phone rang. Loud, sharp, I froze. 3 rings, silence. Then again. 1 short ring, 2 long ones. A pattern. That was Arthur's old signal. I grabbed the receiver. "Arthur," static. Then, a faint male voice. "Not his. Ethan Vale," the voice said. "We know what you found." My heart stopped. "Who is this?" "Leave it alone," the voice said. "Or we'll make you vanish too." The line cut. I stood there, the dial tone humming like a threat. For years I'd kept my head down, played the quiet man, followed every rule. But now, the rules had changed. I looked down at the USB again. My reflection stared back at me. Tired eyes, trembling hands. The face of a man who'd just opened a door he could never close. I pocketed the drive and whispered to myself, "Then let's see what you're hiding." The office lights flickered once, then went out. And in the darkness, I realized something chilling. Arthur hadn't disappeared because he made a mistake. He disappeared because he knew too much, and now, so did I. It was midnight. My office was dark except for the glow of my laptop screen. I could hear the faint hum of the city through the window. New York never really sleeps. My fingers hesitated over the USB drive before plugging it in. A single folder appeared. Kane ledgers. I whispered to myself, "What the hell did you hide, Arthur?" Inside were encrypted spreadsheets, offshore accounts, wire transfers, all coded. But one file wasn't. It was labeled VB. I clicked transactions, payments, burial coordinates. Names of men I'd seen at meetings, now marked as inactive. Then I saw her name again and again. Veronica Beaumont. Jesus, I muttered. My pulse spiked. My mentor had uncovered something massive, and it pointed straight at the boss's daughter. The office door creaked. My heart stopped. "Working late again?" Veronica's voice smooth and amused. She leaned against the doorframe, holding 2 cups of coffee. Her smile was effortless, practiced. "Yeah," I said, forcing calm. "Numbers don't sleep." She handed me the cup. "You always take it black, right?" I nodded, watching her reflection in the window. My laptop screen was still on. The open file glowed like a confession. She noticed. "What are you looking at?" "Just reconciling old ledgers," I said. My voice cracked slightly. Her eyes flicked to the screen, then back to me. A slow, knowing smile formed. "Arthur's files?" I froze. "You knew?" Her tone shifted, silk turning to steel. "Ethan, you weren't supposed to see that." The words hit like ice water. I forced a laugh. "I was just curious." "Curiosity," she said softly, stepping closer, "is how men disappear around here." I stood. "What happened to Arthur?" "Arthur made mistakes." She tilted her head. "Don't make the same one." Then she smiled again, warm, fake, and walked out. The moment the door closed, my legs gave out. My hands trembled. I yanked the USB from the port and shoved it into my pocket. I whispered, "What the hell have I done?" My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A man's voice, calm but urgent. "If you want to live, don't go home tonight." "Who is this?" "Name's Liam Cross. I worked for them once, ex-cop. I know what's on that drive." I stood up, glancing around the office like the walls were listening. "How did you get my number?" "Arthur gave it to me before he vanished," he said. "He knew you'd find the files." "Listen to me, Vale. They're cleaning house. You're next." My throat tightened. "Why help me?" "Because Arthur saved my life once." "I'm returning the favor." "Get out. Now." The line went dead. I looked around the office one last time. Papers stacked neatly, coffee still steaming, the faint trace of Veronica's perfume hanging in the air. My mind screamed to run, but my body froze. Then I saw a reflection in the window, headlights pulling up outside. Black SUV. My chair fell as I bolted for the back exit. I ran through the alley, clutching the USB like it was my heartbeat. The air outside was cold and sharp. I didn't look back until I hit the main street, sirens in the distance, smoke. I ran harder. When I finally reached my building, something felt wrong. The air smelled. Burnt flames flickered in the reflection of a nearby car. My apartment was on fire. "No," I whispered, sprinting forward. The heat hit me before I reached the steps. Fire alarms wailed. Neighbors shouted from the street. The entire place was collapsing. Everything I owned, my ledgers, my backups, Arthur's notes, gone. I stood frozen, staring at the blaze. Then something caught my eye near the mailbox. A small, half-burned notebook resting perfectly on the steps. My old notebook. I picked it up. The edges were scorched, but one line on the first page was untouched. Arthur's handwriting, they're watching. Trust no one. I turned it over, realizing someone had placed it there after the fire started. I whispered, "Someone wants me alive." Behind me, the sirens grew louder. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the notebook. I looked up. Across the street, under a flickering streetlight, stood a man in a dark coat. Watching me. Liam Cross. He nodded once, then disappeared into the smoke. I clutched the notebook to my chest. My apartment burned behind me, lighting the night like a funeral pyre. For the first time, I understood what Arthur meant by when they come for you. They already had. And somehow, I was still standing. The wind off the Hudson was sharp, cutting through my jacket as I stepped onto the cracked concrete of the old train yard. Rusted cars, weeds pushing through steel, and the faint hum of electricity from nowhere. Liam was already there, leaning against a rusted boxcar, cigarette in hand. "You came," he said. "I didn't have much of a choice," I replied. "My apartment burned down," he smirked. "Yeah, that's how they send messages." I stared at him. "You said you worked for them. Why help me?" "Because I used to believe in justice," he said, flicking ash to the ground. "Then Beaumont bought it." I crossed my arms. "You mentioned coordinates." He pulled a folder from his jacket. "Found them hidden in your USB. It's a burial site, private, off books." "Burial?" He nodded. "You ready to see what your numbers really hide?" We drove in silence for an hour, out past the Jersey industrial line. The estate loomed in the distance, high fences, dead trees, the faint glow of security lights. "You sure this is safe?" I asked. "No," Liam said. "But the truth never is." We parked by a broken fence. The soil was fresh, damp. He handed me a shovel. "You dig," he said. I stared at the ground. "Why me?" "Because it's your ghost we're chasing." We started digging. The sound of metal hitting earth echoed through the night. My breath came heavy. Sweat mixed with dirt. After a while, Liam stopped. His shovel hit something solid. He crouched down. "Here." We cleared the soil, and what lay beneath froze my blood, a black bag. Torn in places, and inside, human remains, wrapped tight in plastic. Around the body were decayed stacks of money bags marked with a familiar crest. Beaumont Industries. Liam whispered, "Bastards used cash to bury their sins." I stumbled back, bile rising. "This is... Jesus Christ." He lit his flashlight, the beam trembling slightly. "Arthur's partner. They called him Ray. Disappeared 6 years ago." My voice broke. "They killed him, and paid for the grave with their own money. Now you see why I called," Liam said. "You were never just the accountant. You were the record keeper of the dead." I knelt, pulled my phone out, and snapped pictures. Every bag, every bone, every mark. My hands shook, but the proof was there. I uploaded the photos to a hidden drive. The progress bar filled slowly. 20%, 50%, 90%. Then my screen flickered. A message appeared. "Stop digging, Ethan, or we'll bury you next." My throat tightened. I showed it to Liam. He sighed. "They're watching everything." Then we move faster. "Or smarter," he said. "You're playing against people who make death look like paperwork." I looked at him. "What's your plan?" He pulled out a small envelope. "This is Elias Beaumont's signature. Richard's right-hand man, cold as ice. He runs the cleanup operations." "Cleanup?" "The bodies," Liam said. "The money." "The lies." I stared at the grave. "Then he knows we were here." The night grew colder. A faint hum, like static, brushed through the trees. "Elias doesn't warn," Liam said, scanning the darkness. "If he sent that message, it means he's already—" A sharp crack split the air. Liam jerked backward, collapsing onto the dirt. Blood blossomed across his shoulder. "Liam!" I dove beside him. "Sniper, East Ridge!" He gasped. I grabbed his arm and dragged him behind a mound of dirt. Another shot rang out, hitting the shovel beside us. Dirt exploded in my face. "Stay down!" I yelled. Liam gritted his teeth. "You need to run. I'm not leaving you. Ethan, listen. If they get you, all this dies with you. I said I'm not leaving." He tried to laugh, but it came out as a groan. You're stubborn as hell for an accountant. I ripped my jacket and pressed it to his wound. Keep pressure. We moved together. He nodded weakly. There's a car behind the freight office. Keys in the visor. I checked my phone. Another text appeared. You should have stayed the accountant. I swallowed hard. They know where we are. Liam's grip tightened on my wrist. Then make it count. I peeked over the mound. Shadows moved near the fence line. 2, maybe 3 figures. All black. Silent. We can't outgun them, I whispered. Then outthink them. He tossed me a small flash drive, different from mine. Arthur gave me this before he died. Backup data, everything they wanted buried. Why didn't you show me earlier? Because I didn't trust you, he said, smirking faintly. Still don't. I pocketed it. That's fair. The next shot hit the dirt inches from my face. Move, I shouted. We crawled through the mud, using the grave mounds as cover. I could hear footsteps now, closer. My heart pounded in my throat. We reached the old freight building. The car was there, half covered in rust and grime. Liam leaned against it, pale. Go. You're coming with me. He tried to protest, but I shoved him inside. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. As we sped off, the headlights cut through the fog. I looked back, saw a figure standing where we dug. Flashlight beam sweeping over the open grave, Elias Beaumont. He raised his phone. Staring right at me, a final text appeared on my screen. You're in the ledger now. The night swallowed the road ahead. And for the first time I realized I wasn't just uncovering the Beaumont's secrets. I was becoming one of them. The rain hit harder as I pulled the car into the alley behind an old warehouse. Liam groaned beside me, pale and bleeding through his shirt. Stay with me, I muttered, half dragging him inside. You sure this place is safe? He rasped. It was, I said. Arthur owned it. He blinked. Arthur Kane? He's dead, I didn't answer. My hands shook as I typed the old code into the lock. The door creaked open. Dust, mold, and the faint scent of whiskey. The smell of ghosts. Jesus, Liam whispered. Feels like a tomb. I turned the corner and froze. Arthur sat slumped in a chair, wrapped in blankets, eyes sunken but alive. Arthur, I whispered. He looked up, voice brittle. You shouldn't have come here, Ethan. I thought you were dead. So did I, he said, smiling weakly. They tried to bury me, but not deep enough. Liam stumbled in behind me, clutching his shoulder. Old man, we need help. He's bleeding out, Arthur coughed, gesturing to a shelf. First aid kit. Back right. As I patched Liam's wound, Arthur studied me with eyes that had seen too much. You found the ledger, he said quietly. I nodded. You knew about the graves. The money, everything, he sighed. I helped them build it, Ethan. Every transfer, every fake invoice. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? My voice cracked. You lied to me. I had no choice, he said. The Beaumonts used me to launder their killings. When I refused to hide another body's worth of blood money, they buried the evidence. And me along with it. Liam leaned forward, voice low. You tried to expose them. Arthur's lips trembled. Yes, but the truth costs more than courage. He coughed, blood staining his hand. I grabbed his wrist. Arthur, stay with me. He smiled faintly. In my jacket pocket, the key to everything. His hand went limp. The air went still. Arthur. I shook him, but his head fell to the side. Eyes open. Gone. Liam muttered, I'm sorry. I swallowed the grief and reached into the jacket. Inside was a single black card, embossed in gold. Mirage Bank of Geneva. What the hell is this? Liam asked. The offshore vault, I said slowly, where the Beaumonts hide their fortune. So that's what they killed him for. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. An alert flashed across the screen. Motion detected. External sensors triggered. Someone's here, I whispered. Liam reached for his gun. How many? Too many, the lights flickered. A metallic clang echoed from the front. Then, a woman's voice, sharp and cold. Ethan Vale, you should have stayed behind your desk. Veronica Beaumont. I felt the air leave my lungs. She found us. The door burst open. Men in tactical black flooded in, guns raised. Muzzle flashes lit the room. Liam fired first, dropping one. I grabbed Arthur's old revolver from the table, my hand steady for the first time. Move. Liam shouted. I fired twice. The first missed. The second hit a man square in the chest. He fell hard. My ears rang from the blast, adrenaline flooding my veins. Veronica's voice cut through the chaos. "You're full of surprises, Ethan. I almost liked you. I ducked behind a cabinet. Guess I wasn't supposed to find the graves." "Oh, you were supposed to," she purred. "Just not live after." Liam gritted his teeth, firing again. "We're pinned!" Smoke filled the room. "The sound of boots. Closer now." "Back door," I said, pointing. Liam hesitated. "You can't fight them all." "I don't need to. I just need to buy time," he scowled. "Don't be a hero. Trust me," I said, chambering another round. "I'm not." I broke cover and fired toward the window, shattering it. The glass exploded outward, drawing attention. "Go!" I shouted. Liam stumbled toward the back exit as I covered him. Bullets tore through the furniture around me. I hit one more guard in the shoulder, and then the click of an empty gun. I ducked behind a desk. The card from Arthur burned in my pocket like a secret too heavy to hold. "Give it up, Ethan," Veronica called. "You think you're the first man who tried to expose us? You're just another name on a file." I stood slowly, gun lowered. "Maybe, but this time your file burns with me." Her expression twisted. "You won't make it out alive." I smiled faintly. "Neither will you." Then I dove through the back door. The cold air hit like a slap. Liam was waiting beside the car, engine running. "Drive!" I shouted, climbing in. As the tires screeched against the wet concrete, a flash of light erupted behind us. The entire house went up in fire. The explosion knocked the mirror off. Flames curling into the night, Liam gasped. "Arthur, he's gone," I said quietly. "So is everything else." The shockwave faded, replaced by the ringing in my ears. My phone vibrated again, a new message. I answered it on instinct, a woman's voice. Soft but venomous, whispered through the static. "You can't hide. Ethan, you're already dead." I stared out at the burning skyline reflected in the windshield, my hands trembling just once, before I gripped the wheel tighter. For the first time, I said under my breath, "So is my fear," and I drove straight into the darkness ahead. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for the world to forget I existed. I stood before the mirror of a motel bathroom, clean-shaven, wearing a simple gray coat, my reflection almost unrecognizable. The accountant was gone. What stood in his place was something quieter, sharper. Liam leaned against the doorframe, his shoulder still bandaged. "You sure about this, Ethan?" I didn't look up. "It's already done," he frowned. "You moved the accounts?" "All of them," I said, slipping my phone into my pocket. "Every offshore vault, every numbered account. The Beaumont Empire is broke, and every cent now funds the families of the people they buried." He whistled low. "That's one hell of a move." I met his gaze in the mirror. "It's not revenge. It's arithmetic," he smirked faintly. "You always did like your balance sheets." I grabbed the laptop from the bed and sat down. The screen glowed pale blue as I uploaded the final file, the one that would burn an empire. Liam walked closer. "You sure you want her name on everything?" "Yes," I said. "Veronica Beaumont, sole beneficiary, primary operator, financial architect of the crimes." He raised an eyebrow. "You're framing her with her own money." "I'm not framing," I replied. "I'm revealing." I clicked send, a message flashed. "Transfer complete." Liam exhaled. "And now we wait?" I nodded. "We wait." The room went silent except for the faint hum of the laptop fan. Somewhere outside, a freight train wailed, long, distant, like the echo of everything we'd lost. Liam sat beside me. "You ever think about what happens next?" "Every night," I said, "and every answer ends the same." He waited. "Which is?" "There's no next. Just the end." He gave a dry chuckle. "You really are the quiet type." "Quiet men survive," I said softly, "until they don't." My phone buzzed, a notification from a news channel. I turned the volume up. The reporter's voice came through, sharp and urgent. "Breaking news from New York. Multiple financial accounts linked to the Beaumont Syndicate have been seized under international warrants. Key figure Veronica Beaumont has been taken into custody." Liam grinned. "You did it." On screen, Veronica appeared, hair disheveled, face pale under flashing lights, handcuffed between 2 agents. She didn't look like the queen of a crime empire anymore. She looked human, angry, defeated. "She's looking right at the camera," Liam murmured. "She knows," I said. "She always knows." Veronica's lips moved silently, eyes locked on the lens. I didn't need the sound to read them. "You." Liam tilted his head. Think she'll talk? She'll lie, I said. It's what she's best at. We sat there for a while, watching the screen as the empire I once counted money for crumbled live before us. The headlines stacked fast: Syndicate assets frozen, Beaumont legacy exposed, anonymous whistleblower strikes. Liam turned to me. You could have killed her, you know. Would have been easier. I didn't want her dead, I said. I wanted her ruined. He nodded slowly. That's colder than killing. It's cleaner, he smirked, shaking his head. You sound like a man making peace. I glanced toward the window, the city glowing in the distance, indifferent as ever. Maybe I am. He stood, stretching his shoulder. So what now? Disappear again? I smiled faintly. Accountants are good at that. He laughed once. You'll never change. Maybe not, I said. But everything else did. We left the motel in silence. The night was calm. No sirens, no gunfire, no ghosts chasing me. Just the soft rhythm of the waves against the pier. Liam leaned on the railing, staring at the horizon. You think this counts as justice? I thought about Arthur, about the ledger, about the men buried with dollar signs on their graves. No, I said finally. It's balance. He nodded slowly. Justice, balance. Maybe they're the same thing. Maybe. A breeze rolled off the water, cold and steady. The smell of salt and diesel filled the air. I pulled my coat tighter, watching the reflection of red and blue lights flicker across the waves. Veronica's arrest replayed again on my phone, the glare in her eyes frozen mid-frame. For years, I counted the Beaumont's wealth. Tonight I counted what they lost. Liam broke the silence. So this is it? This is it, I said. No more numbers. No more ledgers, he sighed. Hell of a story. I turned to him. Let's make sure it ends here. He offered a hand. To the quiet man, I shook it. To the ghosts we made. We stood there a long moment, neither of us saying another word. Then I spoke the line that had been echoing in my head for days, the only truth I had left. I used to count money for killers, I said quietly. Now I count ghosts, Liam gave a faint nod. Guess that's progress. I looked at him one last time, then walked down the pier, the fog swallowing me with each step. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I hesitated and then checked the screen. A single message. You took everything from us, Ethan. Now it's your turn. The screen dimmed. My reflection stared back, calm, unreadable, waiting. Some debts, I thought, are never settled. And then the phone went black.